Hey, hey, hey. Happy Saturday to you all. It is Sarah Jane from Access Your True Nature. If you don't know me or you're just tuning in, and I just thought I'd pop in here. I've been pretty intensely in my own process this week. There's been a lot happening, and I just wanted to come in and check in and see how you're all doing and just open up some of the inquiry that I've been asking and getting curious about in my own life around standards and where perhaps you are lowering your standards or giving up your standards to make other people more comfortable. And if I am a little distracted, I've got a couple of things going on around me, but I am totally present, and my family are about to come home. So that's life. That's life, I suppose. We don't always get to have the perfect calm place, do we? To show up in. But yeah, so I'm curious. Let me know. Hi, Christina. Let me know, where are you giving yourself up, perhaps, or your standards, or feel like you're compromising or putting yourself in a no choice reality as if you have no other choice to do anything but that. And how can we start to create a more expansive place in connection, in community, to get more aligned to our core values and our needs and our wants and our desires, that creates a win-win for everybody. And I was having a conversation with a potential client earlier today, who I could see was really, really struggling with this sort of either or reality of, that felt like a death in a sort, which it does to our nervous system when we're kind of feeling hemmed in and trapped, and that we don't have anywhere to move, and oh my God, what if I make the wrong choice? And she was really choosing between these two things that she had already told me that she needed. Hi, Faiza. Nice to see you here. And I could feel her pain. I could really, really feel her pain, that she wanted some relief, because we're wired that way, to move away from pain and towards pleasure all the time. And she was really stuck in this, should I or shouldn't I? And this whole scenario was just running round and round in her head. And what I heard her saying was that she was considering investing in her business. Obviously, that's why we were having this conversation, but more than that, it was really an investment in herself. And for her, it felt like two separate entities, that she either had to choose to invest in her business, and that she was really choosing that was the way that she needed to go before she invested in herself. So cognitively, maybe you can relate to this, of sort of having, I know I've had those similar arguments with my false self and my wise self, and I completely understood where she was. And I know what it feels like to be on the verge of something really, really big, only to hold yourself back by what on the surface appears to be maybe financial constraints or responsibilities. And again, the standard of meeting everybody else's needs maybe before you meet your own, or that you really need to focus on the business and give up your health or give up your personal growth. And I appreciated her being so straight up with me, because I'm a bit of a truth teller, and let's be honest, any coaching relationship, any mentoring worth having isn't worth shit if it isn't tested. And also, what kind of mentor, guide, or medicine woman would I be? Hi, Colleen. If I didn't help you to overcome those concerns or those issues, because it's also probably going to impact your ability to attract more clients or more money or great relationship or a better sense of feeling in your body. And I totally get where she was at, and maybe you've got a bit of that going on in your life right now. And at the end of the day, we want the best. We all want better. I think that's the common thread that weaves us all together, is that we're always looking for better. How can I show up better? How can I serve better? How can I feel better in the work I'm creating, in the company that I'm keeping, in the legacy that I'm living into. And we're ready, aren't we, for the best. We're ready for better. But sometimes we need to give ourselves permission. We need to soften our heart. We need to stop being so hard on us. And I know, with deep love, some of my tribe here, I know some of your story, and I know how hard you are on yourself, because I'm pretty hard on myself. And that's where the permission part is so important, when we start to look at what we value and what our standards are. You know, our core values are our standards. You know, it's how are we holding ourselves, and how are we showing up in the world based on doing things that maybe aren't the most comfortable, or not the easiest path, but we choose it anyway. And that's where your values and your integrity and your standards all play into the same pool of energies. Am I making sense? Thank you for the hearts and the thumbs. So we need to trust. We really have to trust that we will give as much as we get, exactly when we need it and how we're asking for it. And I've stood exactly where this beautiful, strong, brave woman was standing in this dilemma of, should I or shouldn't I? Should I do this? Shouldn't I? And that she was just needing a little bit of a push into her power, to come back into her heart and really trust that she knows what she needs to do. And I've spent tons of time and money focusing on so many business strategies. I mean, we're all kind of holding our breath, trying to catch up and get it all right. And there's so many pieces when you are a solopreneur, when you're just starting out and you don't have a big team, and you don't perhaps have the budget to hire people to support you in the parts that you're not good at. You have to do everything yourself. And this is where I'm probably going to do a training early next week on this whole thing around the reverse funnel, these big funnels, and the way that marketing and the way that people are telling you to build your funnel out doesn't always work for intuitive, sensitive people, that their brains aren't wired that way. And then we wonder why these funnels don't work for us, because they just don't work. And I'm not going to get into that today. I really want to just try and stay on topic for once, which is difficult when you're channeling a lot of energy and tapping into everybody that's on the line. So you can relate, Charlie, Christina, that's awesome. Yeah. So, you know, I know what it feels like to spend so much time agonizing and pushing and hustling to get all the business pieces and the strategies and the back end systems of technology working. But what I've learned, and I've learned it the hard way, which is why I show up in the way that I do in my business, to bypass a lot of that struggle with the people that I'm working on. And we're always looking for simplicity in being aligned and so on target with your vision, so focused on what you stand for and what you're here to do. Because that's what I learned, that if you value, or you drop your standards, or you compromise on the standard that you are setting for yourself, or your priorities, which I like to call them. Hi, Kelly Heath. Mwah. If you value investing in your business over yourself, you're going to attract clients who do exactly the same thing. And I wholeheartedly believe that if we're willing to do the work, and most of you that are here with me today, you're doing the work. It's the master. It never stops. It's the spiral pathway, right? We've got to go from the outer peripheral, where we have the perspective and the wider lens. We have to still, like a horse, have one ear on the inside and one ear on the outside. So you know what's going on, but you never lose track of your inner pilot light, your North Star, your wise woman, when you're doing that work. And you have to be willing to ask the questions and be vulnerable and have the beginner's mind, be willing to be coached and be open to change. It's possible to completely change our reality and actually create the kind of security and dependability and the recurring income that creates real change and actual freedom right? Because freedom isn't something out there. It's the power of choice. It's about choosing from an aligned place that's very congruent with who you are in your true nature. It's not coming from the outside of strategies and systems and sales funnels, but from being 100% aligned with who you are. The kind of person who is not being bogged down, or, you know, I get totally overwhelmed with technology. I get totally overwhelmed with the enormity of all the pieces that have to be in place. And I don't build out big funnels because they don't work for me. And I've spent tons of money on product launch formulas, and I've never used them. And maybe you can relate to buying programs and things in a place of, in a moment of doubting your wisdom, of doubting of what you know. And then you start looking for the extraneous, superficial stuff that maybe gives you temporary relief. But you find yourself back in that place of wanting to just break out of the molds. Can you relate to this? So if you do, you know, my question to you, you relate, I hope you do. Send me some love, give me some energy, tell me that this is helpful and a great place to spend your precious time. Thank you. Yeah. So where are you needing to set a standard for yourself, a new standard for yourself, because the old ones need to be shaken up a little bit? Haha, I love the hearts. Thank you. Yeah, what do you need? What do you need? What does your business need? Because remember, you are your business. And I think that was the biggest takeaway that my new client has, is you are your business. And if you don't give yourself what you need, and I'm talking about on all levels, the spiritual, the emotional, the mental, the physical, if you don't fill yourself up, you can't fill your business up. You can't be there to get your business what it needs. You just can't show up. And I know I have no business asking other people to do the thing that I'm not doing for myself. We all have our blind spots, and it's helpful to have somebody hold us in the fire and grab your hand when you feel like you're that crab in the pot that's being pulled back down into the old mindset stuff. You have to be willing to look at your conscious commitments, right? And what it is that you're committed to, so that you can start getting the results that you want. And we can't do that when we're in it. You know, that's why I invest heavily. Everything that comes in, I invest it back into my own personal growth and in my business. Because I know I need the accountability. I know that if I can't rise up out of that inner saboteur's voice, that false voice, I'm just going to carry on doing the same thing over and over again. And then I'm not being in service, and I can't show up. And there's no reason why you can't have what you want and have the lifestyle that you want, and the luxury of doing what you want, traveling the world. You know, someone asked a question the other day. It's like, if you had a year left to live your life, what would you be doing different? And that's, most people said they wanted to travel. They wanted adventure, because it's in our nature to want to experience life on all levels and have those beautiful conversations and find those connections and push ourselves into something that we can celebrate, right? And that it's very counterintuitive, because we've been programmed from a very early age, like our parents were programmed to, you know, get a good education and then go and get a good stable job and don't make waves, and just put your head down and do the work and have your pension fund, and that everything's going to be fine. And that's not the way things work. You know, that's the soul-sucking crap where we wake up, or we create health crises or huge traumas in our life because we're so out of alignment with our soul's calling and what's calling us, and our dharma never goes away. You know, sometimes we need to be shaken up, and I don't want people to I don't want any of you, and I know you're not. Finding extra time, yeah. Finding the Kents that can't afford my services. Oops, I'm not sure what you mean there. But yeah, you know, this is where the mindset stuff is so important. And if we just get out of our own way and we do the work in a big way, where we're not living through our false self voices, and then manifestation is easy and it's effortless, and you don't have to do the heavy hustle, which is very different to, you know, that I work my ass off to create a life that I'm actually loving and a business that I love. It doesn't happen overnight. It really doesn't. Someone was talking about Nando's the other day, and what an empire they've built, and it seems like all of a sudden they're just popping up everywhere, and it's like, wow, overnight success. But it's another long story. But I used to live in a complex in Cape Town when, you know, I'm talking about my 20s, that's 30 years ago, where I knew those people were my neighbors. They hadn't even had their first child yet, and they had just opened their first Nando's on Main Street in Sea Point. It was just a dream. I don't think they even knew what it was going to be, but they were relentless in staying aligned to the vision that they had for that now very, very successful business model. It doesn't happen overnight. And I want you to be successful in the material world. But I'm not driven by the money first, you know. And I know that most of you are not either. My people aren't driven by the money. They're driven by a very deep sense of connection and belonging and showing up in the world using their gifts. And when you do that and you stay aligned, the money follows. You know, but it starts with rectifying your old patterns of self-sabotage, to be brave and confident and clear in your voice, and then aligning your vision in your business as your medicine. People can't find you if you're not showing up in that space that this is who I am. I'm the same person wherever I show up. I'm the same. There's no image. It's all persona. It's your personality, and your personality that's what makes you attract people that are going to find your work of value. And it doesn't matter whether that's physical creation, or you're working with people's lives, or you're working on a beautiful big piece of canvas, or Corleen, or you're banging out some beautiful organic speaking piece of living art. When you step into that space that you're being asked to, people find you. People find you because there's just that resonance. There's that alignment. And when you are avoiding or denying your talents, or you're not giving space to that wise part of you, the wise woman, your essence, your nature of who you came here to be, having this physical experience, you know, that part of you will wait very patiently for you to step into remembering. And we don't always remember it all at the same time. I always use that sort of imagery of the falcon with the hood on, that if you pull it off too quickly, we get blinded by the amount of light, the frequency that's coming in. So, you know, I think the journey has to be gentle. And I think that there are times when we kind of do big, expansive bursts. And then there are times where we actually need to come back in and get quiet and let it integrate and recalibrate before we do the next burst, whether that's a launch or a showing of your work, or your next program, or your next retreat. I think that's the breath, of expansion and contraction, where we have to give space for our innate intelligence to be more forceful in how we're leading our lives and how we're leading in our business, in our living legacy. And you're a wise woman. She's the one who's going to get you there. not all the external accessories and gadgets and apps and systems. Yes, we need them, but the most important place is to come back and remember that you actually know what you came here to do. You've just forgotten, right? And we have to bring back those parts. And most of you and most of my clients, they've done a lot of self-work. You've done a lot. Hi, Martina. And we still get kicked in the ass by our inner saboteur. I mean, we all know it. That's part of the growth. That's part of the journey. And yes, we get afraid of our power and our true nature. And yes, we need to be healed around all of that too. So give yourself permission to look at your standard, the standards that you're setting for yourself, where you're holding yourself, your anchors. You know, look at your stake. Sometimes we need to tweak it. And I think that's part of standard, is that when we know what our standards are and we know where we're going, then we have more flexibility around the extraneous stuff, right? Because we can't create in a vacuum. We actually need eyes on us. We need tribe. We need people to trigger us. We need things to push our buttons so that we can remember not to lower our standards, not to be like everybody else or do things the way that everybody else is doing it. Just because somebody says it works for them doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And I think that's where it's really important to be deeply in faith and grace, to do your own work and to see your talents and to start to see yourself through a very empowered lens that's very different. Right? Your wild woman, your animal body wants to run. It doesn't want to be chained. It doesn't want to be boxed in. We weren't born into a life where we were supposed to be in solitary confinement. And go there for the woman that you know you are. And that really is my own desire for myself, is to keep asking how much deeper and fuller can I show up in my life, and for my people, for my tribe, especially with what's going on in the world right now. You know, the more of us that are doing this, our work, the faster we get to contribute to a sustainable planet, the faster we get to change the things that are triggering us and that we don't like. You know, I think that really is where all of you are light workers. I know that. Without a doubt, I know that. Otherwise, you wouldn't be part of my world, and I'm really grateful that you are. That, you know, we're being called to be, to really be brave right now, and to see ourselves in a different way that is strong in how we do our work, and bring something to the collective that only you can bring through your talents and your essence and your purpose. And you know, I don't really believe in this whole competition thing too. And it's funny because it's something that's always coming up again this week, where somebody said to me, but yeah, aren't you afraid of, you know, having so many people that are following your model and are right on your doorstep? And I said no. And I always say that I will choose collaboration over competition any day. Hi, Hannah. Right in time. Thank you. Thank you for being here. If you have any questions, type them in, guys. Otherwise, you know me, I just keep rambling on, just sharing from my deepest, rawest, most vulnerable parts. But, you know, the only person that we get to compete with is ourselves. You know, that's how we grow. When we come up against those hard edges of seeing the reflection on the external, and allowing ourselves to see the gift, and oh my gosh, what is this part that is being triggered by this right now? I was incredibly triggered. Lynn, ayahuasca. Yeah. You know, doorways are opening all over the place, and we have to be willing to open our, you know, widen our viewpoint and widen our perspective to look into the shadows and go there. And it does take bravery, and that's why we need each other. That's the gift of being, thank you, Corleen. Yeah. You know, it's just, I'm so excited because this week alone I have heard from so many beautiful people that I've had sort of in my peripheral vision, and that sort of come and go, you know, and I think there is a time for everything. But I have some incredible people that do stand for what we all stand for here. And we were talking about wisdom. Some of them had gone to the Wisdom 2.0 big event that was happening in America, and I just felt for the first time just so filled up by knowing that the momentum of people waking up and the people that are no longer willing to mute their voices and watch what's going on from a place of very misaligned and very abusive, manipulative spaces, that our numbers are growing. You know, and it's that tipping point. We're on that threshold of tipping things back into more harmony of there is a different way. You know, we don't have to keep doing the same thing over and over again and feeling like we are, I don't even want to say winning, but that's ultimately what we want. Did you hear those? Those are my rosy ring parakeets. Sun is setting and they're all going back to roost. But we can go so much further together than apart. And I don't know, some of you might remember I did a summit about 4 years ago, and I was judged because everyone was saying, oh, you're always too ahead of your time and nobody gets what you're talking about. And that's okay, because I did it anyway. But it was a summit where I interviewed 27 incredibly brave, potent creators on my summit, Courageous, Confident, Inspired Woman. And I talked about that, you know, that old saying that maybe, I don't think it's cliche, but maybe it is, that the Dalai Lama said that the world would be saved by the Western women. And I spoke about that as really what I wanted to see in the world, that the world doesn't need saving. We need to remember our humanity, that together in tribe, in the red tent, it's in our bones, it's in our cells, to celebrate other women and to pool our talents and find the strength in the numbers of that each one of us comes with our own sacred medicine, and that we need to stop cutting each other down. We need to stop, and it's happening. Darla Ledoux, if you don't know her, she was one of the speakers on my summit, and I just love her because she's always been aligned, and we were talking the other day about this, that when we suddenly look like we're changing direction or we're completely destroying an old model of the way that we've been creating business, and we start with something else, people often look at it. It's in our nature to judge us as, well, what just happened, and that's not what she stands for. That it's okay for us to be vulnerable enough to say, I'm a work in progress. Right? I know what I know, but you never stop working on yourself, and your work starts to evolve out of that when you track back to your north, to your compass direction, and you go there. You know, people, that's what brings us together, is that nobody's saying we know everything. My family are home. So, you know, just because somebody does similar work to you, it doesn't concern me. And it shouldn't concern you, because it's deeper and it's bigger than all of us. And nobody's going to speak your language the way that you speak your language, or share your work the way that you share your work. You know, we need each other right now, and it's okay. It's okay. If we don't trust ourselves, then we go into comparing, and we go into hiding, and we go into muting our voices, and we go into the victimology of, I'm not enough. And the people that need you, your resonance, your message, they will find you when you just show up. And this came up in conversation, I think, with some of you this week, of that it's okay. It's okay to say, you know what, I don't have all the answers. And it's okay to ask for help, right? And it's okay. That's how we grow. That's how we are going to amplify the frequency, the higher vibrational frequencies that are so needed in humanity right now. And animals show us that. every single day and how to stay present. That's why I love to work with animals, especially horses, because they call you on your shit. They show you where you're lying. They show us our blind spots. And they each come to us as this beautiful presence of contributing what we need to see, and knowing that every single one of us is playing our part, just as they're playing our part. And we're the only species that don't trust ourselves enough. You know, animals trust that they're enough. Nature trusts that they're enough. The trees are not competing for the sun. They all know that the sun is there, and they reach upward. They reach upward, and they contribute with the mulch, with the leaves that drop down to the floor, and the little insects and the birds that they house. They don't hold back. They just keep showing up in their presence of contributing the best that they can by being a tree or being a bird or being the insect. So if you're stuck in a place where you just can't, you feel like you just can't move beyond what you're creating right now, if you're like that beautiful woman that I spoke to earlier today, re-examine what it is that you're deeply afraid of, and know that you're brave. You've done this before in so many variations. I know it's not fun to live out of alignment with your truth and your heart, and spirit is always going to call you back. And you know, I don't go into that place of guilt so much, of being so far out of alignment with what I came here to do, because I stopped resisting it. I beat myself up for years, saying, oh, I don't want to do that. And when I just collapsed and I went back into that 0 point field, and I aligned and I agreed, I made that commitment to honor what I came here to be in a very soul-powered way, there was more ease and there was more flow, and you can have that too. So I want you to just spend some time this weekend looking at, you know, what is your standard? What is your current standard? And what are you tolerating from other people that are not honoring the boundaries of your standards? You know, don't make it personal. Stay in your standard. Stay in your truth. Don't go away. And remember too, and I talk a lot about this in the shadow dancing class, and some of you have been working with me, but you know that when people are projecting that you're selfish, or you don't know what you're talking about, or there's some kind of shame in the projection, just ask them to stop. Just say, listen, you know what, this is not about that. This is not about whether I'm being too sensitive right now. This is about me asking you to please not speak to me like that, or not do that thing. This is not about me being sensitive. This is about boundaries. And when you get clear on what you're asking for, and if someone's telling you you're too sensitive when you're just asking them to not do that thing, remind them, I just asked you not to do that. Please honor that. That is brave. That is staying in your truth. That is staying and living to your standards. You know, and that's tolerance. It's a very strange beast, tolerance. You know, and if I'm honest with myself, my desire is to really provide a space that sometimes is very, very hard to stay in, tolerating other people's bullshit. And I'm talking bigger than my personal space. I'm talking about it's difficult for most of us because we're sensitive. Some of you are empaths, and you're feeling everything, every other living being's feelings, and it is difficult. It's difficult for me to tolerate certain things, like it is for you, like the dolphin slaughter in Taiji. I find it very difficult to tolerate that there are children starving that don't need to be. That there is dirty fuels being used when we have renewable, clean fuels like solar power and hemp. And you know, I find it really difficult to tolerate that there's an elephant I don't know how long I've been talking, but every minute there's an elephant that's being killed for its ivory. There are rhinos that are dying. There are so many things that are very difficult to tolerate. And then there's all the lies and the lines and the manipulation and all the fear-based selling that we have to tolerate and that we don't want to be a part of. And yet we're sort of put into that fear of that there is no other way. And we know there's a better way. Not easier, but a better way, because we want better. And, I have to keep reminding myself and remembering that everyone is having their own experience, that it's not about me, that I have to keep my heart open, and I have to lower the barriers, and I have to just see their experience for whatever it is that they're choosing. Sometimes we feel, yeah, you're right, the immensity of calling. Yeah, it's big. It's big. And then we have to feel and remember too that the fear of not stepping into that and standing for what, there's a standing word again, right? The standards for what you stand for matters, and that your voice matters, and that you're valuable, and that your gifts matter, that there are people waiting for it. Then we are in that tolerance zone again of a very strange place of, and I think that's where we have to be willing to look at the contrasts, right? It's like my truth is not your truth, and that's okay. So, it's just like maybe that may help you to create more space around that. Is for me, I have to just keep remembering to come back to my heart, that everybody is doing the best they can with what they have, and that they are having their own experience of that until they choose something different. So, it's not going to get you what you want all the time, and it's not always going to look the way you want, and it might not always be the right way. And yes, we make mistakes, right? We mislead ourselves. We lower our standards. We take things that when we get there don't feel good, and then we have to take another experience. That's my definition of a mistake, right? I've taken something that when I got there wasn't my brightest choice, and I have to be the joke of my own reality and go, wow, not my brightest choice. What else can I choose? And reset the compass direction. So I'm not sure if I'm done, but any questions, anything that's resonating, anything that isn't, is this making sense in regards to standards and how you're showing up? What would you like to ask me? What would you like to share? Yeah, so just remember, everyone is having their own experience, and it's not always going to be easy to swallow. It's not always going to land with how you feel, but allow yourself to feel it. I think that's the most important thing, is be willing to feel it, even when it's, that is the intensity of this experience. Best news ever. Yeah, reset. Every day we say goodbye to the sun. We thank the day for the experience, and we get to close our eyes and go into the astral travel and find the wisdom from our guides and from our innate intelligence of our body, and we get to hit erase and delete and carry the wisdom of what we want into a new day. So I'm relieved too that we get to do that. Also waiting for it to unfold as it should. Yeah, the patience thing is such a big one. And I think that's the thing, is that when we look at standards, when we look at our core values, when we look at what is it that I want to experience, there's never going to be a right time. There's never going to be a perfect time. And I think that when you just make a choice to choose to move in a direction, and you assert right? You assert your standard, your desires, your want of what I expect. So that, you know, the expectation, the requirement, the inspirement into it. That's the pleasure. And, you know, I love to use words and spelling. Hello, Blue. My cat just came. You know, look at the word pleasure. It's please and sure. So the universe is always responding to our please show me what I need right now. And it says sure. Don't you love that? I love words. Pleasure. Please, universe. Please, guides. Please, body. Please, being. Please, business. Show me what is required of me in the moment. And they go, sure. So the ask and the receive is really is as simple as it really needs to be. No further action necessary. You know, it's going to happen when you raise your level of commitment, when you raise your standards by having stronger boundaries, by asking exactly what you need. I always say put truth before a question. When you're asking that of somebody else, whether it's the guy that's about to fix your plumbing, or a partner in a business, if you say truth, and I love the power of 3, truth, exactly what is this going to cost? Exact is exact. Then you're going to pick up the lie, right? The manipulation, or you're going to feel the truth of what they put behind the words. And remember too, oftentimes we tell the truth and then there's a drop in tone or a drop in the energy or a contraction, which is always the truth with a lie attached. So these are all the little intuitive gifts that I love to share with my tribe and my clients. So ask for what you want, and, you know, do whatever it takes. Know that other people are going to do exactly what it is that they need. And you got to look at, you know, is this going to work for me in this moment? It doesn't always work out the way, but it will work. And, you know, stop hiding, stop freaking out, get in touch with your wild woman, and just do your stuff, be yourself, step into a new level of brave, a new level of creativity. And the more you do that, I think the more the courage is just there. It's not something outside that you have to do. The courage comes and the clarity comes because you're taking action. And you know what your purpose and your contribution is in your soul's evolution. And you know, also, that's the mission that I'm on, is I want you to know who you came here to be. And also, you know, who you came here to serve. You know, I'm not driven to make, you know, the 7 or 8 figures, or you know, I've done that. I've had that experience, and I'm not driven by the external anymore. You know, I don't need to speak on stages with thousands of people. The material stuff doesn't fill me up. I was talking to another client today about that, you know, who's my age, and you know, we've been around the block a few times, and we've had those experiences. Hi, Sharon. And, you know, she was also saying, it's just like the freedom now is in the standard of the simple life, right? The natural life of going back to essentialism, in a way, of the freedom to walk on the beach, the freedom to travel, the freedom to create, the freedom to take the pause without feeling that you have to justify why you're taking it. You know, the money comes. You know, my purpose fills me up. I know that your purpose fills you up. Hello, Roxanne. It's opening up. I know. I'm loving your drawings. I'm so happy for you. It's such a gift, and your beautiful drawings. I love your puppy the other day. I could almost feel the water when he shook himself after his bath coming off the pages. You know, that's what I think Orion Mountain Dreamer says that, you know, and that's always sort of stuck with me. I'm not sure if it was in the invitation or in the dance, but, you know, this is words that resonate with me. My body loves her work of when she said, you know, don't tell me what you do for a living, tell me what you live for. That is the dance. It's the dancing with the molecules. It's the symphony that you're creating as being the conductor of your own orchestra. Thank you, Roxanne. You know, it's the money's part of it, but and it's important to have our physical needs made. But it's not the top of my list, and I know it's probably not the top of your list, but there is a way to have great resources, right? And it comes through connection with the person you are, the human kindness that you are, and connecting and speaking into that. That's how your people are going to find you, right? Because we're so starved of honest conversations, of integrity, of real raw truth telling, you know, telling your story with a whole heart. And that's why I love to support you in being able to know what your story is and that it matters. You know, that's an extension of my purpose, and also that's the place where I want to lead from. And I know my clients, and I know you guys, you're doing your work, and I want that for you to just remember how powerful you are. You're way more powerful than you realize. And this is the time to create new opportunities and be seen in the world. Be seen in the beauty of what you bring into the world in your gifted life. You know, that inspires other people to claim their talents and get their work out in the world. Like I was saying earlier, that's the frequency of divine alignment, where the tribe is gathering and we all bringing our piece. And the more you shine, then the more I can celebrate you, the more I can celebrate myself. You know, that's the momentum. That's that ripple effect, the tsunami of higher vibrational frequencies, where we can be the freak of nature that we came here to be, because we didn't come here to be normal. You know, it inspires me to see you claiming your talents, so many of you. And, you know, I think that's the place of stepping into holding that space for ourselves. You know, if I didn't hold that for myself, and it's hard to describe, but if you can't hold that space for yourself, you're going to drown under the weight of feeling like you're out of alignment. Like, I don't want to live my life feeling like there was always more that I had to do, but I was too afraid to just go into the unknown. And, you know, I don't, even when I was in the furniture industry, you know, there was always that piece that was off for me, where I knew that I was feeding deforestation, that I was cutting down trees, and that were orangutans home, and animals and plants, and were being destroyed for my trade, to make the furniture that I was making. And I know that I didn't know what I know now, but, you know, no amount of Ho'oponopono is ever going to change that. There's always a piece of me that has deep regret for the fact that I lowered my standards. I sold my furniture, and I made furniture for hunting lodges, and it always kind of it bothered me back then, but I did it anyway, right? Because I was making money bigger than everything else. And, you know, it's no surprise looking back that business is no longer. But it doesn't have to be that kind of huge loss where you lose everything and get sequestrated and lose your business and your house. You know, I want you to avoid that step that I experienced. But again, you know, we have our own experiences, even though we have guides that are saying you don't have to do that. Maybe you do. Maybe you do. And you can have the material comforts alongside of living into your legacy. I know it's possible because I'm doing it. So are you. And I think that's the ongoing work of looking at our blind spots, looking at our triggers, looking at our standards, and that the doubt is going to come up, the guilt is going to come up. But you move through it a lot quicker, and you move through it with more grace and self-love, because you're grounded into what you stand for. I just put that together. I never, I often talk about, what is it that you stand for? And I've just kind of got back to, the standards that I was talking about today, and standing for stuff. That is the standard. What is it that you stand for? Wow. Some days I'm a little slow getting my own magic. So that's my Saturday spirit-led conversation. I think it is time, and I'm celebrating you stepping into your gifts, and also looking that it is always the rewiring and the rewriting and of our standard operating systems within ourselves that really matters. And that's where we need to invest our time and our resources into giving ourselves whatever we need to get that, instead of giving ourselves all kinds of reasons why we can't. Just like that woman I spoke to this morning, or why we shouldn't, or that it's too big, or that it has to be either or. The business is your life. So invest in your life, invest in you, and ask for help. Stay open and choose to be in faith and trust that you're open to new possibilities. And I think I'll leave it at giving you one of the things that I practice for myself, that another wise medicine woman offered up to me, and that is, what if question again, of what if I can really hold the doorway open, that potentiality, as often as I can, to really believe in the utmost potential, the highest, greatest good of myself and my visions and my dreams, without attachment to the outcome. And that's the tricky one. It sounds easy. It's like, as much as we would like to think we're aligned, there's always something that needs to be balanced. Our cells are doing that juggling act all the time. But just let yourself pause. Let yourself fall into that. Just linger in that space of giving yourself permission and allowing whatever comes to come through you, because you're all amazing. Thank you for joining me for Sundowners. I don't have any, but I have some kombucha in my bottle. So cheers. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what one level of frequency upgrade you're going to go into as far as standards. What are you going to stand into from a place of pleasure, right? Yes, please, and sure, right? That's the permission in itself, and the universe has your back. I love you guys. Thank you for coming, and happy Soul Sunday tomorrow. Bye. Mwah.